Welcome back to our discussion on bridging the digital divide. The question that we are going to raise and the question we're going to discuss is whether it's actually possible, economically possible, to provide a laptop for every child on planet Earth. I have with me here in the studio of Lok Sabha Television Satish Jha, based in Cambridge, Massachusetts since 2004. Earlier was in Geneva for 7 years. Before that you were a journalist in India, edited Dinaman
Times of India
for the Times of India group in the middle of the 80s. You co-founded the Jansatta newspaper for the Indian Express group also in the early 80s, and currently CEO of OLPC. Foundation OLPC stands for One Laptop Per Child. Mr. Jha, many people believe that the various experiments that have taken place, including experiments in India, $100 laptop, $10 laptop, Simputer, Mobilis, these are just sort of basic kinds of gadgets which pretend to be computers. They don't even really have whatever 1/100th of the facilities or the capabilities of a laptop which might cost you whatever
$1,000.
$1,000, yes,
even 500.
45,000 rupees, or even less than that, maybe a $750 laptop.
Yes.
So the question is, should we call these machines at all computers? Should we, or should we just describe them as sort of gadgets, calculators, call them what you like? Yes.
I'll share with you. In 2000, the world was not ready for something which is going to miniaturize or look at any way of addressing computers differently. But Simputer was an aspiration.
What was this Simputer?
Simputer was an idea, great marketing idea. How do you make a simple computer that villagers can use? But the technology hasn't advanced, so what they said was, let's make a handheld computer which had the basic computing power to understand the farming needs, and we could put something. Then they became a device which could address some things which could be handled on a handheld. That is the basic idea. They tried to, but they figured out in 2003, when I tried to put together the price, was 27,000 rupees for something which didn't quite do the kind of work that computers were expected to. But the desktop price had already fallen to about 25,000 if you got it bespoke, made in India, from some small shop. So it did not fly off, but it was a great marketing success. Both Vinay Deshpande and Vijay Chandru of ISC and Bangalore based both, they did a great job marketing it, but they could not produce it. My advice to them then was, if you have an idea, you want to actually implement it, to productize it. But India did not have the experience curve. They hadn't gone through the curve of productizing anything by that point in time. And productization is very difficult. I'll share with you. HP 95LX is a product I'm familiar with because my younger brother, IT Delhi product, he created it in HP. It was the first palm top in the world. It cost more than $200 million in 1989, 1991.
$200
million to just create the product. Then of course the cost of manufacturing it, marketing it, and so on and so forth. So creating a product is a very expensive business, but more than that, it required a global collaboration. You had to bring in Sony, you had to bring in miniaturizers, you had to bring in, each piece had to be redesigned for it. It's a huge, huge job. They had 250 plus patents for that filed in 1989, 1991. Similarly, to create Simputer would have been a huge, huge job, and we had no capacity, no funding, no talent, no experience, but aspirations were there. But sometimes aspirations help us move up the curve. That's what it did. Simputer was a great learning story. Later on, that got translated into Mobilis. Mobilis was something which Ramesh Mashelkar, and I had an experience of trying to actually, I was invited by him to help restructure CSIR labs to think along the lines of future. And that's when I got a bit familiar. We did something, but we didn't go very far because there were questions around why do you want to do this. But nonetheless, he founded the Mobilis. Mobilis was an idea of creating a cheap computer. It went to the extent of Brazil ordering 150,000 Mobilis computers. But because we had not perfected the product, when the product went, we can win a tender, but when product was being tested, it fell through. It was dropped. India got a bad name on that count. Then came the question of $10 laptop.
That's right. Even a few years ago,
Yes.
if I remember correctly, 2 years ago or 1.5 years ago, with great fanfare, the Ministry of Human Resources Development says, hello, this is the future. This is how all our poor, all our illiterate people, all the underprivileged people in Indian society, this costs just $10. People gasped. People said, how can this be a computer? I mean, $10 multiplied by that by 50.
Yeah.
And where are you? You're 500 rupees. Are you saying you can actually have a computer for 500 rupees? Impossible. So people laughed and people said this is a hoax. Here is the government of India trying to pull a fast one on the people of this country.
That was a very unfortunate day for India because people were right and those who trying to project that, they had no idea what they were saying. And what they did was something very interesting. They took a USB drive kind of stuff, 2 gigabytes. Normally USB drive is 2.5 centimeter by 1 centimeter. They blew it up into 10 inches by 5 inches, put a screen which could actually read the files inside that. That's the only stuff it could do, was read the file name inside that USB drive. But while the world is miniaturizing things, they went ahead and blew up a 2.5 by 1 centimeter stuff into 10 inches by 5 inches device with a little screen. And this cost was $35. It was not only not a computer, it was not only not a laptop, it was not even a USB drive effectively because you couldn't possibly use it. But that's why you never heard of it again. As soon as it became known to the world and they saw the criticism, they backed off. But you know, the aspirations are good to have. And I think it also gave us a learning, some kind of learning, that we have aspirations but we are not ready for it. But then the question came, somebody started talking about $10, $20, $25, $35 laptop. But the fact is, these...
No, I mean, you're not even here talking about $100 a laptop, which is Nicolas Negroponte's project,
Exactly.
the MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and his answer towards empowering the poor and the underprivileged of the world. $100. $100 in today's exchange rate is somewhere between 4,500 rupees and 5,000 rupees.
Exactly. Let me share with you. And that becomes a possibility because that is a full-fledged laptop, except that if you make it a tablet, it becomes $200 because tablet requires hinges. They cost about $62. Secondly, he didn't just make a laptop. He also made a laptop which only took 1 watt of power because human hands can give you 2 watts of power. So now you're free from electricity.
So you don't need electricity.
Exactly.
You're actually arguing that here is a machine where you do not depend on whether you have bijli.
You don't even depend if you have a cloud or sun. Because you can
You don't even need solar energy. You don't even need a photovoltaic cell.
You need a solar energy, but if you don't have sun, you can hand crank it.
So it's the good old gramophone record of yesteryear, which you sort
Exactly.
of wind and
Exactly.
that generates power.
You can do that. In other words, you freed yourself from constraints of power. If there is solar power possible, plug the solar in. If hand crank is required, you can hand crank. You can use bicycle. You can use cow power. You can use any power you like. And you can use electricity, you can have battery, and the battery lasts 6 hours at night, and 12 hours if you put it in day mode.
All right.
So
So you can start working at 8 o'clock and you can continue working all the way up to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly, you could do that. But it's not just that.
But tell me, is it actually working, this particular kind
It's
of...
working with 2.5 million children. It's working in 42 countries.
Where? Libya included.
Libya is the last I'm talking about. Uruguay, every single child has it. Starting with February of 2008, by November of 2009, every child in Uruguay, about 400,000 children in primary school. It's a small country, but every child has it. Now, Peru has gone to about 700,000 laptops being on the ground with children in primary schools. Rwanda has gone to 110,000 children, for instance, but there are 42 countries. Libya in the beginning was very, very gung-ho about it, but they have some 10, 15, 20,000 being used. Obviously, they couldn't pay for all the money they could have. It's a choice that they make. But look at this, Uruguay president, starting with February 2008, he announced in July 2008, he published a postage stamp. UNESCO and UNICEF wrote a 332 pages book on experiment called OLPC. And today 2.5 million children in 42 countries are using it. They're using it to great success.
And tell me something, this computer that you're talking about, what is its average cost?
Average cost, if you run for 5 years, in 5 years in India is 15,000 rupees.
So that means you spend 15,000 rupees over a 5-year period.
Because I'll tell you what.
That's 3,000 per year.
3,000 per year. 10 rupees, if you take everything, 10 rupees per day, per calendar day is the max that you spend on this. Today,
assuming some days you're not going to use it. 65 days you won't use it.
If you don't use the 65 days, then you can say it could cost 7 or 8 rupees, 6 rupees. If you take 365 days, you can do it in 7
And tell me,
rupees.
it's not using electricity?
No.
It's using that hand crank?
No, it uses electricity as well.
Okay.
Total electricity used in 5 years, if you use it 24 hours a day, is 100 rupees worth. Okay. While a desktop that you have costs 15,000 rupees electricity with 12 hours use over 5 years period. A desktop consumes 120 watts of electricity. A laptop about 75 watts. A netbook about 40 watts. So this one about 2 watts and less, 1 watt to 2 watts.
So you are saying this is reality. So Nicholas Negroponte's dream has become reality in certain parts of Latin America, Africa,
yes.
and Asia.
In Asia as well as Mongolia. It's in Afghanistan. It's in Palestine. It's in some parts of Iraq. It's some parts
Not
of
in
Cambodia.
India?
I have donated about in some schools. Some other members have joined hands with me to donate. Altogether, we have 1,000 in about 20 schools and 1,000 in Manipur starting this week. Manipur, Kerala was the first government to ask for it, but the government of Kerala was keen on it, but the central government did not give their contribution to it. Manipur said, if nobody gives us contribution, we want it, and we will.
And what is the price of each computer?
Computer costs today, including the tablet features, etc., 11,000 rupees to make. It's about 21% is the duty that they levy on countervailing duty plus cess, etc. There's some about 20.
So it's coming to about what?
15,000 rupees.
Roughly 15,000.
The 4,000 is basically logistics and handling and taxes, duties, and 11,000 is cost of production.
So it comes to the user after an expenditure of roughly 20,000 rupees?
15,000 rupees.
15,000.
No profit margins in this. It's a not-for-profit, zero profits. So we allow anyone who wants to buy, but we only sell in large numbers. We don't sell below 100,000. So we don't make any profits. We are not-for-profit organization.
So it makes sense to manufacture this kind of a computer only if you manufacture a minimum of 100,000.
Minimum of 1 million, because below that you will not be able to get economy of scale of manufacturing.
All right.
Yes.
Is this computer also waterproof? Dustproof?
Waterproof, yes.
Dustproof?
Yes.
Infrastructure proof? Wait. I'm going to quiz you further on this.
Sure, of course.
In other words, what you're saying is that certain parts of Latin America, countries like Uruguay, certain countries in Africa, countries like Rwanda, certain parts of India too, it is possible to provide one laptop, a reasonably functioning computer for 15,000 rupees, which has a 3-year lifespan. Am I right?
No, more than 5 years.
More than 5 years.
Yes.
Okay, 5-year lifespan, 3,000 rupees per year. In other words, what you're saying, it is possible to fulfill a dream where every single child on this planet has a laptop. The question is, yes, this laptop does not use electricity or need not use electricity. Is this laptop also dustproof, waterproof, infrastructure proof? Let's discuss this issue in slightly greater detail. We'll be back with you in a short while from now. We are discussing whether or not it is actually possible to bridge that digital divide, whether information and communication technology can really empower the underprivileged of India and the world. We'll be back with you.